Awesome Leadership Show. My name is Paula Dunn, and I am a cognitive scientist and human performance expert, and I work specifically with teenage girls to help them create confidence to conquer life. Now today, I'd love to introduce you to the fabulous Shelley Elsliger. She is a LinkedIn trainer and career expert at the University of Toronto, Canada. Welcome, Shelley.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Now, Shelley, being a career expert, in particular working with university students at the moment, what's currently happening in terms of COVID-19 and the challenges that we're facing, for our upcoming graduates?
So I think at first it was like everybody was in the same kind of boat, the employers, the students, the career educators like myself. I think we were all like, wow, this is so different. What are we going to do? It's the end of the season, and exams are coming, and what are we going to do for campus recruitment and all of those internships that have been offered? What's going to happen? So I think at first there was a little bit of panic for all of us. Everybody was in the same boat, but the panic really set in. And then after a few weeks, because now we're in our 7th week of being, at home and doing things online. I think now it's settled a bit. So what has happened is we're starting to see employers kind of changing the way that they thought they would implement their internships or their summer jobs. And now they're just trying to find a different way to establish them. So I see that they're going to delay it for maybe a month or so, but they're just going to try to convert something that was normally offline to something that's going to be online. It's not going to happen with some of the maybe like smaller startups or smaller businesses that just can't convert that and use the money. They just don't have the money. But with the bigger companies that are somewhat settled and maybe have used online, online ways of working before, they're going to now do it at a bigger scale. And so what I've seen recently is there have been really some unique kind of summer jobs and internships coming out of the woodwork. So we see that maybe they're not going to start like in May, like they normally would, but they're going to start like maybe June 1st. So there's a little bit of a delay, but I see the companies working really hard because this is part of their succession planning, and they can't go without having some kind of campus activity and thinking about the future.
Awesome. I don't know what it's like in Canada, but in Australia, our governments are actually trying their best to subsidise some of the, incomes for our, low-income earners. So, for example, we have two types of, government initiatives. One of them is called Job Seeker. So they're for individuals that have been laid off from work because of the coronavirus crisis. And the second one is called Job Keeper. And Job Keeper is for those, say, in business that want to retain their employees, but obviously due to COVID-19, their return on investments have actually decreased. So it's an incentive to keep employees on. Is there something like that happening in Canada as well, or?
Yes, there is. So I think it happened about 2 weeks ago where we got word that normally throughout the summer there are a lot of internships. We call them co-ops, where the government subsidizes those kind of programs and pay a subsidy for the employers to hire a number of students. And normally that deadline would be passed. Number one, they've extended the deadline, and number two, they've extended, or I guess increase the amount that they'll actually give. So similar programs, but that's one of the main ones that we look out for every year with our students, especially when they're applying for an internship or a co-op.
And generally a lot of large organizations may have those types of internship cadetships, that sort of thing that could subsidize graduates. in their job. So I guess, there's a time where at the moment now, I guess if they're trying to cut costs, it might be even a great opportunity for graduates to really get their foot in the door somewhere.
Yes, and I think that right now there's not, like, normally we'd already be talking about on-campus recruitment for the fall and full-time recruitment. I think most of us, including educators, are hoping for the best and hoping that it's all going to normalize out by September, but there's no way that any of us can predict that. So we're kind of doing a plan A and plan B. We have all kinds of information sessions set up, and we all have all kinds of, thinking about what's going to happen and what are we going to do to be unique and have students engage in that process. But then on the other hand, there's that plan B that we might have to take, think about virtual recruiting, right? And what does that look like? So, and virtual, like career fairs and info sessions. And I mean, there's one company here having a virtual beverage event. And what they're doing is that everybody can take whatever beverage they want, but they're a beverage company, right? So they want everybody to take their beverages, sit down, and have a chat online, just because they would normally do a pre-recruitment activity. And now they just have to think outside the box. So the students, I think at first are like, I haven't done that before. What is it all about? But it's actually kind of interesting to see some of the things that the employers are doing to still maintain that touch point with the students.
That's great. And how's our universities here in Australia have been hit hard with the coronavirus because of the lockdowns, and obviously we're not allowing anybody into our country. So how's that impacted Canada in terms of?
It's really impacted us in the sense that, first of all, we have students that stay here all year and they've been forced to go back just because they may not have secured, they may have been living in residence, they haven't secured employment, they may have wanted to take courses, and that kind of got like, maybe not all the courses are even being offered, maybe they didn't get a summer job like they planned, maybe their summer job was suddenly canceled. So there's a lot of things that are kind of things that have come in that were not there before, and they right now they are kind of barriers for the international population.
Yes.
And at U of T, we're an international university, so we have so many students from different countries that come in and study here at the graduate and undergraduate level. So it's going to definitely impact not just for the summer, but for September, because right now there are very few flights, just emergency flights going out. So what does that look like? We don't even know from a university perspective or from a career perspective. It's very hard. So that's I think that's very difficult to kind of imagine what September is going to look like, and what that what's going to happen there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what actions can students take now to minimize the impact of what's going on for them?
So there is still recruiting out there. So I think number one is have a positive attitude. I think that the shock has gone. Now we're all living it. To remember, we're all in this together. So employers are going to have empathy and understand, because they're going through the same challenges on their end. Different challenges, but challenges nonetheless. So I think we all have to understand that everybody's going to be empathetic and understanding to the situation. So it's not in anybody's benefit to get down. There are a lot of support. There are a lot of supports out there. So what's important is to reach out to that community. And I don't just mean community that's around you, because we don't have that luxury anymore of having our community nearby. But for example, the LinkedIn community, by the way, the LinkedIn community has gone from 610 million to 690 million in a 2-month span. Just recently. Because the LinkedIn community was there before the pandemic, is there during the pandemic, and is there after the pandemic. So the thing is that building your LinkedIn community and really mastering the art of networking online is going to be so important, or I should say it is important.
It's vital.
So building your LinkedIn story and having that available and reaching out and building those connections. Start with alumni. They're there. And in fact, what I've heard from a lot of alumni is that they have more time now. So having a virtual coffee chat is not as like time consuming as when they're asked to have a coffee chat when they have to meet person to person. So that's a possibility. Building those connections right now is vital. So I can't say that enough. Use your LinkedIn community. Take some time to build your story first. I call it a story because that's actually what it is. It's not an online resume. So to build that and then use that to reach out to people so that they can get to know you. And this is a perfect time to build with your peers, to build with, even professionals that you may have met in the past. It's a great time now to start building that online relationship and building that trust online, because it's going to, we need it right now. So that's another tip. And another tip would be understand the industries that would not be as affected through this virus. There are some industries that are still really going through and not being affected in the same way as other industries, like technology, for example. Grocery shopping, it's gone from, a personal, like somebody going into a grocery store, to being something like an Instacart and something online. So those possibilities are there. It doesn't mean that it's going to be what you choose for a lifetime, but it's something there, and it's something that's a possibility during these uncertain times.
Yeah, no, they're really all great tips, Shelley. And I really resonate with what you're saying in terms of building your online presence through LinkedIn and creating a story, not just plastering your copy paste of your resume on there. You'll see with my LinkedIn profile is quite unique as well. I've been able to add my personality on there, and it has made all the difference in people connecting. And being originally from the medical research background, one of the things I found in my old industry, in pharmaceutical and so forth, everybody's a little afraid to engage online. And I used to be one of those people as well, because it's the concern about how if what I engage with or like or comment, is that going to misconstrue to my employer my beliefs and my thoughts on a particular topic. And so I think what we need to do now is we need to evolve and become more agile in our approach, and realise that we are also our own brand, not just the brand of the company, but also, standing out from the crowd by, engaging and interacting, and not just waiting to the point you're unhappy in your job, in your career, that you just reach out to some hiring manager and say, hey, I'm looking for work, do you have work? Because it becomes across as being rude and unprofessional.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, LinkedIn is a space, and back in 2011, employers, the people at LinkedIn actually decided that it needed to be more a space for students. So it was only back in 2011 that they started to really think about how students and new grads could really represent themselves and market their achievements and their accomplishments and their career story to employers. So that's why they added a multiple number of different sections that were not there prior to 2011. And right now, students and new graduates, which are considered to be about 2 years out of university after graduation, they make up the biggest growing demographic right now on LinkedIn. So there's about 39 million of that demographic right now, and growing drastically every single day. And employers, you may not even know that an employer has visited your profile, because they use what is called LinkedIn Recruiter, and they're able to see any public profiles. That's why it's really important to build it, because it's all about your credibility, and having a story online that stands out and is unique and compelling and catchy is going to really make an employer want to get to know you more. I usually call it, make your LinkedIn profile like a really nice creative cupcake, where you front load your all of your achievements, and you create a story that is based in confidence, because you have to be your biggest cheerleader. And I tell that to every single person, because if you are your biggest cheerleader, then the rest will follow. So it's really, really, really important to do that. So everything from the visuals to the content to you write, to the personal messages that you actually develop when you're reaching out to somebody. I always say, don't live the LinkedIn default life. Wherever you can personalize something, actually take that extra 30 or 40 seconds or even a minute to personalize it, because it will change the way that you navigate LinkedIn, and it will change and elevate the way that you are seen by others on LinkedIn. And that's really, really important. But people want to connect on LinkedIn, and the community there is so rich, because you have the opportunity to reach out globally and get known globally. And I don't know any other site that has that ability.
No, I think it's fantastic. I love LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn all the time. I think it's a great platform to share your thoughts and opinions without feeling judged, and you can have some really great heated discussions with people without feeling like you're being bullied or anything like that, which is really great compared to other platforms. So and what else was I going to say? I can't remember now. But
and you did mention about imposter syndrome, the idea that, oh, I don't want to write something because I'm not the right person, or maybe somebody else will judge that, or everybody has a space on LinkedIn. And when you feel that imposter syndrome, just realize that every single person, even actors and actresses, and everybody goes through that imposter syndrome at some moment or another, and just push through it. Recognize where your value lies. Even in university, there are so many students writing incredible things, articles and content, because they're writing for the other students. That is the target audience. Yeah. So when you understand your target audience and you understand what content you can give and offer based on your own experiences, suddenly it'll turn organic, and then you'll just grow with your content. And suddenly you'll understand, wow, people are actually interested in what I have to say. And it just takes a little bit of that to get over that kind of like imposter syndrome that can hold us back. Yeah. Because every single person experiences that. I experience it all the time. Yeah, me too. And I just say, oh, you're experiencing that again. And then I revamp and I get over it. And it's just a natural feeling, because we're on there. It's our professional career story. So we're connecting with professionals on there. But we're all on there to see and to follow and to build community with like-minded people. So they're definitely going to be interested in the content you have to offer.
Yeah. And one thing I've learned, especially with building a business, is that you don't want everyone to like you. And that's something that I used to struggle with, because I like to be liked. And but the thing is, same with those looking for a career in with an organisation. The more authentic that you can be in your profile, and the more that you show up as yourself and your authentic self, the more that those organisations are going to radiate to you. So you'll find that the ones that are not in alignment with who you are as an individual may not seek you out for work, but the ones that do believe in you have the same beliefs and values will, and you'll find that you'll end up working with like-minded individuals, and you'll be in a culture that you'll be able to thrive. So I think it's a win-win where we can all be authentic, and I can see a lot of the corporates these days are trying to become more humanistic, especially in the pharmaceutical industry, where it used to be all about the results and the bottom line, and now they're turning it around to become more human and patient-centric, and also culture-centric. So times have changed, and I think it has a lot to do with the millennial generation and now the Gen Z that's coming through. So they're trying to tailor their messaging to that new generation. So so fantastic.
So I can just talk a little bit on that subject, but in 2017, they came up with a hashtag called LinkedIn Human. So they would just put hashtag in human. And what that meant was that actually came from millennials. And the reason that was when millennials said, we really don't, out of the sites, the social media sites that we use, we don't really like LinkedIn that much because it's very impersonal. People are not being themselves. They're not being authentic. And we don't relate with that because we want to communicate with real people. We want to know the things they've been through and how they got past the barriers or past the things that maybe held them back at one point, but they managed to get through. We want real conversation. We want to have a voice. So all of these things resonated, and then LinkedIn said, this is our biggest demographic. The employers want to meet the students want to fit with the employers. We have to start creating a platform that is more human. And it's funny how that hashtag, and I remember when it came out and I thought, this is so cool, hashtag inhuman, because it's really about relationships. It's really about building trust, being authentic, and connecting community. So that just a little bit to follow up on what you said, because it really didn't happen that long ago. But just like that, as soon as that happened, things started to change on LinkedIn. People were telling stories, and people were becoming more personable, and people were like, more relationships were being built all over the world. And we didn't see that prior to that, not the same way we see it now.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, like, I've even seen it in some of the organisations in my old industry where they've got governing bodies and you never see them engage. You never see them engage on LinkedIn, especially if they know you're from the same industry, or, it's only when they post something out, they post it out like dry toast, but they never engage with their community. So, and then they wonder why no one's subscribing, or no one's engaging in, maybe attending their conferences or their online courses, or because they're not being human. They're still having that deity that, I'm up here and you're down here, and it's like bridging the gap. I mean, that's one of the things, even though my resume is 15 pages long. That's how much I've done in 20 years of my career, but that's just what I've done. It's not who I am, and I'm still me. So whether you see me online or in person, or I'm doing whatever, that's just getting me, it's a lot of things that I've done to develop myself, not just career-wise, but as a leader as well, because I wanted to be the best leader that I could be. And the only way I could help others become self-driven leaders is that I could be the best leader for myself. If I can't lead myself, I can't lead anyone else, or I'll lead them astray. And that's, and that's just not right. So, yeah.
I agree 100%.
No, look, Shelley, it has been a pleasure and an honour to have you on the show today, and I'm sure we will get you back on the show again soon to talk more all things LinkedIn and other tips and tricks that that we can all learn from you. But in the meantime, if people want to follow you and they want to learn more about what you do and maybe how you can help them in their careers, where can they find you?
So I always send people to LinkedIn, obviously, because I share content on a regular basis, and that's where I actually feel that I can give on a regular basis and impact people the most. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Shelley Elsliger. And also my website is called Linked Express, one word, .ca. I have a few campaigns going on in the present moment. I have a Decide to Be Kind campaign. I have a few. I have a big endorsement party happening on May 5th. So I'm always trying to, because I'm a big believer in helping people on LinkedIn, not thinking about ourselves first, but actually thinking about how we can give to other people.
Yeah. Sounds great. And that's how Shelley and I met. We met on LinkedIn. So yeah, she tagged me in on a post, and I was like, oh, who's this? And yeah, and that's how we got to talking. So, you know, it does work. It does work. Don't be afraid. I think the biggest thing is people fearing how they're being seen and how they're going to be you know, how they want to be seen. So it's like overcoming all of those internal fears and then the internal chatter and going, you know what? We all have those fears, and, you know, the best way to sort of, I guess, overcome those fears is just to take action. Start with liking a post, and then, you know, like a few posts and overcome that, and then start maybe making a comment here and there, or maybe sharing someone's post so you don't actually have to interact. Yeah, and then going from there. So you don't have to go into the full-on writing a blog if you don't want to write yet, correct? Yeah.
One of my favorite books was Fight the Fear and Do It Anyway. So this has always been my approach on LinkedIn. So, you know, just start easy. I started with likes, and again, I grew, and then it just comes naturally. Yeah. Just get used to it. Yes. Just get used to, and you know, start following people. You see them, they come up on your news feed, and just start following people that are given great content, and you're going to start fitting into that community, and then you get to grow your own community.
Yeah, see, simple as that. So yeah. Thank you so much, and thank you all for joining today's show. And don't forget, if you really enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my new YouTube channel. And for now, be you, have courage and live life without limits.